Okay, just going to show you what we're doing tomorrow. Now, tomorrow is awkward day simply because we have got to go and do a fish rescue at a park lake in up north, Stoke Way, and we've got to, there's a park lake where the water's very, very low, and we've got permission to take the fish out of there and move them just up the road for the working for the council. 27 degrees today, and it will probably be warmer tomorrow, so we're going to start very early, get up there, and we've got to safely get the fish out and then put them in another lake. We've got all the consents in place from the Environment Agency to do so. They've been very helpful, and basically I want to show you the difference between moving fish in the summer and moving fish in the winter. And basically on this tank here in the winter time, I can safely have 1,000 pounds weight of fish in there and transport them anywhere in the country, just with a minimal amount of dissolved oxygen. And this diffusion is key really, with the difference between compressed air and dissolved oxygen is huge. Like, I've seen so many people buy the wrong diffuser and put it through an oxygen cylinder and then wonder why it's empty. It's ridiculous. You want the minimum amount of oxygen for what you need, and to be fair, I do it all by eye. I'll show you what I'm on about. I've had these diffusers for donkey's years. They're really good. You can see that's quite a lot, to be fair. Them bubbles are moving really, really fast, and I'd only have it up that high if I absolutely had to. So I turn that down. I can do that now. But I just want to show you the difference because it's so hot. A number of things you have to bear in mind when you're moving fish, and it does come into your angling as well, simply because it's so hot. Oxygen's at a premium. The fish are miles more stressed than they ever are in the winter. In the winter, the main thing that's on our side is cold water. Cold water naturally holds more oxygen. Everything's using, there's much less demand for oxygen in any lake or pond in the winter time. Obviously the water's colder, the fish are less active, they're not thinking about spawning or breeding or anything like that. Spawning and breeding, same thing. But it's all about the difference in temperature really, and that makes a difference between being able to put 1,000 pounds weight of fish in this tank and a few £100 weight of fish in this tank. So you can see those really, really fine bubbles. The more contact the bubble has with the water before it reaches the surface, the more dissolved oxygen is going into the water and not just wasted in the air. So if you pump it up in a panic, you're wasting an awful lot of oxygen. So that is fine. And in the winter, I could put 500 pound of fish in there if the water's nice and cold, and they'd be absolutely fine. Just neat oxygen like that, just enough it is. And you do it all by eye. You just learn over the years. I gave up looking at the gauges because I do break the gauges. So as long as it's safely pumping the oxygen through the pipe, I just do everything by eye. And it's all about contact time. So the smaller the bubbles, the finer the bubbles, the better. You can see on that blue pipe a bit. But this is very clean water. Everything has to be disinfected. Obviously, we use Virkon S, all the kit, especially in the summertime, but all the time, it's got to be sensible. So that's basically dissolved oxygen. You can obviously turn it up, and I'll have to turn it up tomorrow, no doubt, I expect, but you want to do it as, just give them, it's the same with any aeration on a fishing lake. You only want to give it to them when they need it, and only have it at the backup. The other thing I've got is an air compressor, and basically this is rigged up just to a battery. So all this is doing is air. I can just show you that. It's simply on a battery, just a nice, and that's what it does. Kicks out a lot of surface air, but it's very, very different. So the combination of those two means tomorrow we can be really organised and safely move the fish. In the winter, I very seldom would use that compressed air unit, just don't need it. I'd always have it with me, but very seldom use it, and the difference is amazing. If you imagine tomorrow, I won't be very happy, and even though I'm only moving the fish about 3 or 4 miles, if I have to put any more than 200 or 300 pounds weight of fish in there, especially mixed species, I'll go and do a few trips. Whereas in the winter, I just load the whole lot up safely, grade them in there, they can sit in there all day very happy, and you can literally fill it up with fish, and they are happy. People often comment who don't understand, they go, oh, you got so many fish, but that is honestly how it's done. They're very safe in there, and that's how fish have always been transported. Speak to people like Viv and Mark, and they do exactly the same, but the difference is ridiculous. Like in the summertime, everything is magnified, water quality, all the issues all the problems are hugely magnified. So it's massively important to be organised, and you can put that into your fishing as well. I mean, basically, I'm doing a talk at Spa Shop about margins and restoring banks, but most of it's about planting. And planting for me is almost like permanent aeration, in a way, permanent improvements in water quality for your lake. When you compare it, with putting barley straw in, or a little diffuser system, because all the diffuser system's doing is pushing air around from the bottom to the surface. And I'm not, of course it's helpful, but it's nowhere near as helpful as a combination of ideally surface aeration and plants on a huge, great big bit of water. And some huge big bit of waters have now installed decent aeration, so I'd always go for surface aeration, but I'd also massively promote the use of decent marginal plants, because they're like a sponge, they're soaking up phosphorus and nitrogen. That's what my talk's about. And in the long term, they're doing an awful lot of good for the water quality, like huge amounts, and you see it year in, year out. The places where we go, they've just got bare banks, low water, then they get algal blooms, low oxygen, the fish start stressing out and they die for one reason or another. Loads of places are struggling right now. Obviously this is crazy weather. But the places that take on board a basic fishery management plan and combine cropping fish, moving fish around their own fisheries, etc., or just making space by cropping out juveniles using fine mesh nets, addressing bank erosion and addressing plant life. And it's that balance, it's no good just having a sterile environment where you've got tons of fish, loads of people putting bait in. The plants are doing so much good, and I'm going to go into a lot more detail in my talk at Spa Shop, and there's loads of videos of us banging on about it, but it's very, very important. And we visit loads of places this summer doing swim building and bank erosion work, where without a doubt, if they hadn't have taken those steps in the last 2 or 3 years, they'd be like a lot of other people and losing fish, no question, and they know that now. The sheer volumes of fish we've moved, tiny fish like this, and the amount of plants we've installed, and all these things, even when you get low water, all of that helps. Everything helps. Not one thing is going to save your fish, but a focused fishery management plan will, moving forward. People ringing me up now going, I've just put some barley straw in, or I've just put a bale in, or I've just done this, I've just done that. Like, way too little, too late. You need to be thinking about next year. And as fish farmers and any livestock farmers really, you're always thinking about the year after. So yeah, it's going to be a stressful day tomorrow for us and the fish, but we'll get round. It's nothing we haven't done before, many times. It's going to be organised. But yeah, hopefully that shows you a bit about how much more serious we have to take things regarding looking after the fish at this time of year. I mean, we always handle them wet. You see people lifting fish out of the water dry. I never do that. Always wet, always in the water. And always literally contact time between, we put them in the bins, always in the bins with water, and that's Verk on there, so everything's clean, and it has to be. And then we move the fish safely into another lake, and hopefully they'll be okay. If there's lots of silverfish in there, it's going to be a nightmare, but yeah, we'll see how we get on.